Hi, Mr. Osborne, back again. Welcome to session 3 of our quick burst science videos. Eagle-eyed of you might notice I've moved room. Mrs. Osborne's kicked me upstairs. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get sharing the screen. Session 3. Let's put it on a full screen. And here we go. So let's have a look. Session 3. So what will you need for the session? Well, you will need nothing more than a pencil and a paper, and obviously your brain needs to be engaged and ready for some learning. Okay, everything that we learn today, if you're unsure, please rewind the video back, maybe ask a parent or a carer if you need some additional help. We're gonna have a little pop quiz at the end of what we're learning, but hopefully you should be able to take it all in and you'll do fine in the quiz. As ever, let's get to warming up our brains with a little brain warmer. Can you name the 4 key components of blood? Hopefully, if you've watched the session before this, that should be easy peasy lemon squeezy. I'll give you 30 seconds to do that, and then we'll come back together to have a look. Okay, so the 4 key components of blood. If you said plasma, that would be correct. If you remember rightly, last time we were making the blood and I had some orange juice to represent the plasma. So that made up about 55% of the blood. Then we had the white blood cells, which were really sort of our army blood cells that take care of us when we're feeling poorly. They come out to help us. We have our red blood cells, which made up about 45% of our blood. And then finally, hopefully I can hear you telling me you've got platelets as well. And platelets are those substances in the blood that if you cut yourself, then they would form together to make a blood clot. And we discussed about having maybe a scab on your arm. Okay, so hopefully brains are nice and warmed up, and let's move on to have a look at what we're going to be learning about today. So today's learning, we're going to continue in our journey through the human circulatory system, and today's main focus, we will be looking at blood vessels. So if you've ever seen that picture I've used before, oh, it's down there, the little vessels that are all around your body, the little roads that carry the blood and nutrients and water across the body. Okay, so there we go, a little animation to continue. So today's learning, main focus will be on blood vessels. Let's have a look. So key vocabulary that by the end of this, you should have a clear understanding of what this means. And we've had this actually, some of these vocab before. So circulatory system, this is the system, is made up of 3 parts: the heart, blood vessels, and blood itself. And we've already looked at the heart, we've looked at what makes up blood, and today we're looking at the blood vessels. Okay, those blood vessels, you will come to realize they're called arteries, which they carry blood away from the heart to the body and body cells, and veins carries blood away from the cells and back to the heart. And this word down here, capillaries, allow food and the gases to move in and out of the blood. Okay, so let's dive in and have a bit more of a detailed look. Now remember, as we go along, it'll be worth taking some notes down, so when you get to the pop quiz at the end of it, you will have the notes to help you. If not to worry, you can always rewind back and have a look at what's been learned today. So, animation, Mr. Osborne puts animation on everything. Here we go. And there we go, that should have finished, hopefully. So, what is the job of a blood vessel? Well, blood vessels are a series of tubes inside your body. It's kind of like a road map within inside your body. If you've ever seen a tube map from London, it looks a bit like that. They move blood to and from your heart. Now, we discussed the job of the heart a few sessions ago, okay, and that beating of the heart which keeps blood flowing around our bodies. Now, connected, we have the arteries, which carry blood away from your heart and transport oxygen and useful nutrients to the body's cells. After the oxygen has been used up, then veins are there. So veins take the blood back to the heart, where it is then pumped to the lungs to pick up new oxygen again. So obviously blood vessels have a huge important role within keeping us and fit, healthy and alive, because obviously we need blood moving all around our body to all parts of our body to make sure we are fit and healthy. So let's have a look at the word arteries. What is an artery? I hear you saying. Well, arteries carry blood away from your heart to your organs. The blood that they hold is usually bright red and oxygenated blood. Okay, now I'm sure when you've cut yourself before, you've seen the color of blood. That is oxygenated blood. Okay, so that has oxygen within that blood. Arteries, okay, so what are arteries like? What do the arteries feel like? Arteries stretch as the blood is forced through them, and then they return to their original shape. Now, you can feel this as a pulse, and I think in a minute, that's what we'll do. We'll have a look at feeling our pulse, okay? Blood in the arteries is under a huge amount of pressure, okay? It's very dangerous to cut arteries, as blood will spurt out every time your heart beats. Now, the only thing I can really think of this is if you've ever seen a hole in a garden hose when water spurts out. It's a bit like that, because there's so much pressure. Your blood is being pumped from your heart, and there's so much pressure going through these arteries that blood then needs to go somewhere. A bit like if you have a hole in your tire, the air will fly out. Okay, so arteries, okay, just to recap on the arteries there, their job is to take the blood away from your heart to your organs, okay, and they usually hold the oxygenated blood. Arteries stretch, so they're flexible, and they need to be flexible because the blood is being forced through them and there's a lot of pressure on them, okay. And we have a little diagram there. It just shows some elastic fibers and collagen fibers there. Okay, the lumen, so narrow compared to a vein. Okay, and then we have the elastic fibers, like a smooth muscle going around. So that is what an artery is. Now, I just thought it might be quite nice. You may not have done this before. You may have done this as an experiment within class, but taking your pulse. Okay, now we discussed about the heart pumping and it pumping through the arteries. Now let's take our pulse so we can actually gain an idea of what it feels like. So hopefully you can follow what's on the slide here on how to take a pulse. If not, I'm going to talk you through it and we'll have a go. So first thing you need to do is put one of your hands out so you're looking to your, okay, so you're looking at your palm. Now it says use a first finger, your index finger, and your middle finger. Okay, so these two fingers. Now hold your other hand in place so that the pads of these are on your wrist and at the base of your thumb. I'm just going to have a go at this. Okay, and it says, and I'm going to have to move my hand down a bit because it'll give me a sort of a false reading. Now, there you go. If you press really lightly, you don't need to press hard at all. If you press lightly, you should be able to feel your pulse, and that is your heart pumping your blood through your arteries and veins and around your body. Okay, now it says here, once you've found your pulse, continue to feel it for about 30 seconds. Check to see if it feels regular or irregular. You can work out your heart rate, beats per minute, by counting the number of beats in your pulse after 60 seconds. Or counting the beats for 6 seconds and multiplying by 10. Now, it is a lot easier to count for 6 seconds and then multiply by 10. So I might just give that a go. So why don't you maybe pause the video there, give that a go and have a look and find out what your pulse is. Let's see, Mr. Osborne's had a stressful day at work, so let's see what his pulse is. That is about 79 beats per minute there. So I'm quite lucky as well because I can actually do it on my phone, so it's a lot easier. But okay, hopefully you've given that a go, taking your pulse. So let's take a look at the veins. Okay, now the veins look very similar in terms of the illustrations that we have. We've got mostly collagen fibers. We've got contain some elastic and smooth muscles, very similar to the arteries there. The big difference that we see with the veins here, now the veins take the blood to the heart and away from the organs. Okay, and the blood is traveling at very low pressure, so the veins have valves to prevent the blood going backwards. And you can just see here, I'm not sure if it's highlighting that well, it doesn't appear to be, but you can see the two valves there. Let me just move this, that might be better. Here we go, arrows finally there. So you can see these valves here. So now that blood is traveling through those veins at a low pressure, which is different from the arteries, where it's being pushed through at very high pressure. Okay, and those valves there stop the blood then going backwards. Okay, and the blood inside the veins is usually deoxygenated. Okay, so we've looked at the arteries, we've looked at the veins. We've got one more key element really to look at in terms of blood vessels, and they are the capillaries. Okay, now capillaries are microscopic vessels that connect arterioles and venules together. Now they are only one cell thick, so I can't emphasize enough how tiny these are going to be. Okay, and they allow substances to exchange between blood and cells. Okay, now you can see here we've got a little diagram here of our vein, which is a lot bigger than our artery here. And if we go down here, we have our atrial and our venule. Okay, and these, okay, the atrial is like mini arteries that branch out to the capillaries. Now the capillaries are here, okay, and you can see this. And then the venules here is like a smallest vein kind of component that suck the blood out of the capillaries. Okay, so the blood is going up through here and then being sucked out by the venule here. Okay, and don't forget, it's only one cell thick, so I can't even begin to describe how tiny, microscopic that would be. Okay, now we discussed before I was going to say yesterday, in our last session, the liquid part of the blood is called plasma, and this contains many dissolved substances that are essential for cell metabolism. Okay, so capillaries, this is what capillaries look like. I've lost my arrow here. This is what capillaries look like. We have our atrial here, okay, which is like a mini branch out to the capillaries. Okay, and then we have our venule there, which then sucks, okay, the blood out of the capillaries. Okay, so I keep saying okay, but let's have just a quick look through, because we've sort of taken a lot of knowledge there. So we've got our arteries that are carrying the blood away from your heart to your organs. Okay, and there's usually oxygenated blood that's going through there. They're stretchy, okay, because of the high pressure. Then we looked at taking our pulse. Okay, we had a look at veins, which takes the blood from to the heart, sorry, away from the organs, and it's more low pressured going through there, and they've got a valve. Okay, and then blood inside the veins is usually deoxygenated. Okay, and then we just had a quick look at the capillaries, which are these microscopic vessels. They're like mini arteries, which are branching out. And then we got our venule there that is sucking that blood from the capillaries. And that is then going to lead us on to the blood vessels quiz. Okay. So let's have a look and a quick read through these questions together before you pause the video and then move on to having a go yourself. Now, I do know it's been a quick burst of a sort of session, but feel free to pause, go back, rewatch, have a look, reread, and then come back and try the quiz if you're not so sure. So number one, what do veins do? Number two, something carry oxygen, food, and water around the body. Number three, what is the network of tubes that carry blood all around your body called? And that's going to be the three questions for today. So pause the video there, come back with your answers, then we'll have a look through them together and reflect on our learning. Okay, so you're back again. Can't get used to these pauses because I don't pause, obviously, so it's rather strange, but you're back again. Okay, so we were going to have a look at what do veins do? Well, we all know what veins do. The heart has to pump the blood around the body. Veins transport waste in the blood away from the body and back to the heart. So we looked at that earlier. Veins transport the waste in the blood away from the body and back to the heart. So something, for number 2, something carry oxygen, food and water around the body. Well, blood vessels are the names for both veins and arteries. Arteries carry oxygen, food and water around our body. And number 3 here, what is the network of tubes that carry blood all around the body called? Well, the arteries are the type of blood vessel. The network of tubes that carry the blood all around your body is called the blood vessels. Okay, let's have a look because I'm pretty certain we've got some more questions. Wonderful. So we've got number 4 and we've got number 5. So let's have a look. Where do the veins take the blood back to before it goes around the body? Nice and easy question that should be. And number 5, how many times would one person's blood vessels go around the world? Now, I've not given you the answer in this, but I'm hoping you may like to have a guess, and this might surprise you. It'd be a nice fact you might want to go and share with your parents or brother or sister. Okay, so pause the video there, have a go, and then come back in 30 seconds and we'll go through questions 4 and 5. Okay, brilliant. Back again. So where do the veins take the blood back to the, before it goes around the back to the body? Well, the veins take the blood back to the heart, but before it can go back around the body, it needs to pick up more oxygen from the lungs. Therefore, the veins take the blood back to the heart and the lungs. And number 5, didn't give you answers to this, so this was going to be a kind of a guess and maybe might blow your mind. How many times would one person's blood vessels go around the world? Now, what are you going to guess? Maybe once, twice, 3 times, 5 times? Let's have a look. If all the blood vessels of one person were laid out in one long line, they would travel around the world twice. That is an astonishing fact. Maybe go and share that one with your parents. See if they've got any knowledge of their blood vessels. But hopefully number 4 you got okay, and number 5 was always going to be a little bit of a guess. So let's have a quick recap on today's learning. Well, today we continued looking through the human circulatory system with the main focus of blood vessels, where we looked at arteries, we looked at veins, we looked at capillaries, okay, the venules we looked at, and so on. And let's have a look. I knew there's going to be some sort of animation going on there. When we continue in our next session, we will look to continue our journey through the circulatory system, and we will be looking at blood cells and the role and job of how important blood cells are. One more animation, and that is it for today's session. Thanks ever so much for joining me. I'll see you next time. Take care. Goodbye.